Today, I'm going to be reacting to I tried the best croissant in France.
Bakers across the world practice the ancient art of creating the perfect croissant. Luxurious layers of buttery perfumed dough, crispy, crunchy, dark brown exterior. It's like a bakery swan song. But even after over 100 years of making croissants, does perfection actually exist? Which brings me here, Paris. Today I'm on a mission to visit the most influential...
Listen, the croissant is my favorite bread. I don't really like pastries. I like buttery, flaky bread. Let's see, I've always wanted to go to Paris and try a real croissant. All the French are going to roast me. I know it. Croissant.
bakeries in Paris to find arguably the best croissant in the world. So to begin, we've divided this into 3 categories: the most popular bakeries, local legends, and finally, modern reinventions.
But most important, whichever all butter croissant is the best tasting will win the overall competition for best classic croissant.
If there's gonna be a place where the perfect croissant exists, it's gonna be here. We're not doing this alone though. We need a little bit of help from Adriana.
She's a Paris croissant expert. She's eaten every noteworthy croissant across Paris while running tours here for Eating Europe. She's actually one of the top food tour companies on the continent. No big deal. She selected the best croissants from 20 of the top bakeries and pastry shops all over Paris. We have a big task ahead of us. Less talking, more eating. Now for our first stop.
So bougie.
One of your favorite places, if I'm not mistaken, when you approach the bakery.
Even though I enjoy a really good croissant, price matters. Yes, I can get a really cheap croissant at Costco, and it's pretty good. I really like the Costco croissants. If the croissant costs like $10, I don't care how good it is, that's a $10 piece of buttery bread. No thank you. I want a good cost to butter flaky bread ratio.
You can smell the butter in the air, which is amazing.
So this is an awarded croissant. There's the best croissant competition taking place in Paris every year. And Isabelle won it in 2018 when she opened the bakery.
What are the guidelines for winning best croissant in Paris?
So of course they will judge it first after the shape, the aspect, the regularity.
The shape.
There's the flackiness, the chewiness, and that melt in the mouth taste. But then you also want it to be like very buttery and very flavorful, the smell.
Toasted butter, brown butter, salt, toasted wheat. It really smells incredible. So cheers.
It's a nice way to start a day.
The most croissant I've ever seen.
Exact same as how they're judging it. I'm also adding the additional element of like, how does the honeycomb structure look? Immediately you can see it is beautiful. Super classic, but here's the thing. If you're used to eating croissants in America,
it's just air.
The first thing you experience is the crunch. It's a very wispy, crispy crunch.
A crunchy croissant.
And then the inside super soft, luxurious. It instantaneously melts in your mouth. It's buttery, it's rich, and it's nicely seasoned with a little bit of sweetness at the end.
I'm not actually no. I have had a crunchy croissant. Where the outside is crunchy and then the inside's really soft and flaky and pull apart goodness.
I'm gonna give that an 8.5 out of 10 for our stars category and classic croissant. It's a twofer.
We're starting up here. I don't even know how it can go up. It's either just gonna stay up here or it goes down, and I don't expect that to happen, so.
Wait, what score did he give it? 8.5.
We're starting up here. I don't even know how it can go up. It's either just gonna stay up here or it goes down, and I don't expect that to happen, so moving on.
Our first croissant of the day, and I unfortunately ate the whole thing. You know, and we only have like over 20 croissants more to go, so I'm gonna need to start pacing myself here.
Hey, on a day where I'm just craving, I could probably down 20 croissants. No problem. It's mostly air. For a while, I thought croissants weren't bad for you because it's mostly air. Except it's actually worse for you because it's actually mostly butter.
Isn't just a big star in France. There are other things that are big here at Philippe Conticini. What we are
I know other things that I want that are big.
Largest croissants, arguably the largest, arguably the only, one of the most famous chefs and pastry chefs in Paris. The first chef to make a monolith of a croissant.
What the heck?
With this giant croissant, he really wanted to preserve the quality and make sure the croissant still pleases the Parisian palates.
Well, we'll see. I'm gonna treat this croissant like any other croissant. It just happens to be extremely big. This is so big that I can't hear my right ear talking. It's blocking the sound waves. I don't know who this dude is. I'm showing off now.
Everyone's taking pictures.
Making something this big usually means that you have to decline on quality.
I was so shocked that it was
That's
still
yeah.
quite good despite its
But is
enormous
it
size.
good?
That said, I think in terms of like deliciousness and quality of just the croissant, it's like a 6.5 out of 10.
That's
It's
what I
above average.
thought.
But in terms of
It's just
experience, it's
a
9.5
photo
out
op.
of 10. I mean, look at this thing. You have to go here if you're in Paris. You have to try this.
Now I need to figure
Do
out.
I? How much is it
Moving on
though?
to a big one, panade, one of Adriana's favorite spots. and really a
Panade.
big treat for me. She says Chef Marouane is an expert at both classic and reinvented.
Ooh, ooh.
You have a good face.
Oh, wow.
Did you already see
Wow.
Look at the gloss.
this? Amazing, wonderful, like
Yum.
me. This one,
Wow.
this is with raspberry jam.
Raspberry. Boom.
You broke it. Oh, Joshua, turn, turn.
Oh my god, oh my god. This is a 10 out of 10 experience.
First up, reinvention. His bicolor raspberry jam filled croissant. I mean, look at this thing.
I don't really like fruit in my croissant unless it's like fresh. Like I don't want jam in my croissant. I'm not a jammy type of person.
Unbelievable. The raspberry jam isn't overly sweet. It tastes like very natural raspberry puree. It's excellent. And it also doesn't hide the fact that the croissant still has its buttery quality.
Look, 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 look what the cameraman do. So now it's your turn. Turn.
Let's not forget the most important thing, the classic.
Oh! This is the
Why is
best
it shiny?
honeycomb structure we have seen, I think, ever. I mean, it's literally perfect.
Is it
What kind of butter
sweet?
are you using in this?
This one. You know AOP
No.
is the best.
Oh, we can't get that in America. Use special European butter. I bet it's high quality. There's too much water in our butter. It doesn't make good pastries. We have to get the Kerrygold brand, the Irish butter that costs like twice as much as everything.
Wow. So soft. But the exterior holds its crispiness. The inside's buttery, well seasoned. The dough is very nice. Might have been our best one.
Two amazing croissants.
Look at that price. Look at that price. Wait, €2? How much is that in American dollars? I don't think you can get a freshly baked bakery croissant in America for $2. Maybe $3.
Amazing croissants, truly a hard decision. I love Chef Marouane, he's so sweet. Honestly, I want to be his best friend. So this raspberry croissant, let me tell you something. This is a reinvention, but it was so incredible. This is a big 9 out of 10. We now have a reinvention leader. Now look, it's a reinvented croissant. It can win that
Panade.
category. But I'm also worried about the overall competition for
9.
best classic. So maybe this one will take the lead. This croissant was incredible. Classic yet new. Everything you want in a croissant and a little bit more. I think this deserves a powerful 8.9 out of 10, making this the new classic lead. We're just getting
8.9.
started. And if this is an 8.9, could we find a possible 10 out of 10?
Moving on.
So now our stop, it's called Poilâne. It's a
Poilâne.
three-generations family-owned
Poilâne.
business since 1932.
Poilâne.
What's special about the croissant that you're going to taste here is, one, it's still shaped in a crescent moon shape, and it's baked in a wood-fired oven.
So what's the difference between the crescent and the straight shape?
Crescent shape used to be a sign that it's made with margarine, and we called it the ordinary croissant. But nowadays, most people would use butter, and it's a lot easier to just like keep it straight.
This place is incredible.
I don't know. I prefer the straight croissants because I haven't had very good luck with the crescent croissants. In America, I think most croissant sandwiches use the crescent ones, and to me it just means like cheap for some reason. I'm a bougie bitch, don't judge me.
Incredibly historic for a specific reason, which is why I'm excited to meet the owner at Bologna to learn about one of the oldest functional ovens. I mean, literally a piece of history. Not fueled by gas, not fueled by electric, but fueled by wood fire.
We've been here since 1932.
I
so
wonder
we've
if it
developed
tastes
our bread
different
baking tradition with this.
being
For the
baked in one of
croissants
those.
And the pain au chocolats, not necessarily the easiest.
You're baking those in here too.
We bake everything in here. So we bake the bread, the pastries, the cookies, and the viennoiserie. And the difficulty is,
cookies.
of course, that
I
there are
wanna taste the
variations
cookies.
in the way the oven reacts.
This has got to be one of the only, if not the only one left.
By and large, people are not very excited about using this because it is more work and more attention.
Right.
But the difference in flavors is pretty incredible too.
I can smell the difference in the bake. Borderline smoky, fresh wood fire smell.
I want to
But it's also
try.
buttery, toasted
I want
butter.
to
These are two
try.
parts first, so I'll start with that. So the end piece nice and crisp. Could be a little crispier, but still crisp. Now the inside,
But why does it look thick? It's supposed to be airy.
Buttery. The honeycomb, I think, could be more intense, but salt levels are good. I think it'd be a tad sweeter, but
All that said, there were a few issues with it. It wasn't very crispy. It wasn't quite as airy as I wanted it to be. And truly, I love
See, the crescent croissants fails me every time.
It's a necessity visit for anyone who goes to Paris, just because it's so beautiful. But to be the best in Paris, I don't know that I can give this above a 6.5 out of 10 for the locals category. A lot more to look forward to, though. Our next spot is a bit
Maybe
of a
it's cheap.
secret. It might
If
be
it's
the
cheap,
most
I forgive it.
bakery in all of Paris, right across the street from an incredible chocolate manufacturer. But there's an important cultural purpose here that makes their proximity that much more special. So why the hell does that matter? Who cares? Chocolate over here, croissants over here. So they're making chocolate croissants?
Stuff in teeth?
We'll get to that in a second.
The French have an entire culture around eating the croissant. We either eat it for breakfast or for the goûter, which is a little afternoon snack. The best way, of course, to eat it would be to pair it with a coffee, a cup of tea, or with a hot chocolate. We get our traditional
Hot chocolate? That seems a little too decadent. I'm not a sweet tooth person. I don't really like sweets that much. I like to have my croissant with a cup of tea. Like I'm British.
croissant from terroir d'avenir, and just across the street we have plaque. This is the best way to try your croissant.
although I'm trying this with the hot chocolate, I'm judging the croissant as a standalone. I just want to see what it's like with the hot chocolate because that's tradition here.
First, let's look at this all butter croissant.
So if you look at the internal structure, the honeycomb's not really that present. It's much more compressed. This one's nice. It melts in your mouth. It still has the crunch that you're looking for. They put, I think, a tiny bit more sugar than the other guys, and I actually like that. My only complaint would be maybe the crumb structure could be better. A lot of people dip it. Oh my God, the chocolate is amazing.
Dip it.
One of the most layered, diverse hot chocolates I've ever had.
I will say,
I am not about dipping the croissant. I want to taste every inch of that buttery, flaky bread. Dipping it sounds wrong. What the heck? Ew. Ew! No, don't dip. I'm not a dipper.
look at the cross section. It's not drawing me in, but the butter flavor was huge on this. That's the texture left me wanting a lot more, and I feel like there are so many other pastries that are buttery as they are, so we're looking for a croissant here. To me, this was a solid 7 out of 10 in the local category. Moving on to L'Eclair de Génie.
L'Eclair de Génie.
I'm a big fan of you.
Oh, yeah. You literally are a big fan. Yeah.
Christophe Adam is probably the most notorious
Christophe
eclair creator in the
Adam.
world. Recently, when he opened his cafe, he decided to introduce a croissant that it's baked a little bit like an eclair. All of a sudden, it's no longer the simple, traditional viennoiserie. It turns into a pastry.
But he also has a classic one, so we're gonna try that. The reinvention will get its own rating, and then the classic will be entered in the overall competition.
Anyway, we got a fun fact alert. That's right,
Fun
sound
fact.
the alarms. Before we get into this, you need to understand. A lot of people might think all croissants are pastries, but that's not necessarily true. They're called viennoiserie. That word
Viennoiserie. Viennoiserie.
translates to in the style of Vienna. It's because according to Adriana, croissants only came to life in France in the 1830s, when the crescent-shaped bread rolls came here from Austria and mated with laminated dough seen in pastries like millefeuille and tarte tatin. And viennoiserie only becomes a pastry when sweet-focused chefs like Christophe Adam get creative. So he does have a classic one, but I'm more interested in these pastries, more specifically the raspberry pistachio.
It's got weight to it.
Ooh.
Very unexpected. Unbelievable combination of pistachio.
Okay, I said I didn't like raspberry, and I like real fruit. That's right up my alley. And pistachio, that's like a match made in heaven.
Now, as delicious as it was, I did enjoy it. It was super overwhelming with all of its flavors. I could barely taste the croissant, which to me takes some points away.
It's more like an eclair, or like a cream-filled donut, or a cannoli. I don't really love those desserts that when you bite into them, you get like a mouthful of cream. I like very simple flavors.
Flavor-wise, honestly an 8.5 out of 10, but overall experience, a 7 out of 10.
That said, we have to try the original. Crunchy, buttery, seasoned really well. So obviously the
Whoa, it's so airy.
This whole overall competition of the best croissant, this one is up there.
This is a tough one. It's delicious. It is. Crispy, but it was lacking a little bit of crunch. It was lacking a little bit of salt for me. I'm gonna give it a 7.5 out of 10. Still a worthy and far above average croissant. This is just the beginning, and we're gonna see some of the most unusual, innovative croissants I have ever seen in my entire life, including one from the most famous pastry chef in the world. A lot of people know who they are, and there's a lot of scrutiny on what he does. But we'll get to that in a second. Moving on to croissant number 9, which is truly,
It's a bagel.
and I'm not just eating. I'm cooking.
It's a pretzel.
Well, not really.
Okay, so we're at boulangerie. I don't know how to pronounce that. I'm sorry. You do this.
Michelak.
So Michelak.
Yes. The chef's name is
Michelak.
Christophe. He's one of the most
Michelak.
famous chefs in
Michelak.
France. He
Michelak.
makes this pretzel croissant, which is his signature,
Pretzel.
and it's probably like one of the best croissants that you're gonna taste on our
Pretzel
Just by
croissant.
looking at it, I already want to give Christophe a kiss.
Look, he didn't give me any kisses, all right? I made my own pretzel croissant. It's really basic. He gave me a strip of laminated dough, spiral it into an escargot snail shape. They freeze it, bath it in a mixture of water and baking soda and salt, top with sesame seeds and bake. Look at this, a pretzel croissant.
That seems
I'm
like
impressed.
They do not sell
the
normal
wrong
croissants.
texture.
They only sell this and pain au chocolat. I like that kind of behavior. That's rebel mentality. It says we're reinventing it. We're doing it the way that we want to do it. So we've got the pretzel. This is a reinvention. It's obviously not a classic, and yet it does have a lot of elements of the croissant. It's crispy. It's well browned. It smells of toasted butter, but does it taste like a pretzel? Whoa, this is my speed right here. I've been eating croissants all day. When they start tasting the same, this brought me back to life. It's buttery, it's flaky, it's rich, it's a little sweet, but the crunch, you really maximize the crunch without losing the soft inside. You get that flavor of the pretzel, that toasty flavor. What I love the most is the little pops of salt. Brings it all together. So salty, buttery, it's very punchy, powerfully flavored. This is probably my favorite bite I have had today. They managed to capture what makes a croissant great while reinventing it and making it special. It is a reinvention, it's not a classic. Experientially, this is a 9.
Boulangerie Michelin
I have no
ties Benard's
opinions
raspberry croissant for
because
first place in our
I
reinvention
am
category. They're
a
gonna be very
traditionalist.
hard
I want my
to
croissant to
next
look like a
spot,
croissant.
we
It
should
confuses me if
consider
it
to
looks and
be
tastes like something else.
of the renowned Macaron. So why is it a
Macarons.
croissant video?
Macarons.
This is Pierre Hermé with the simple black on white
Pierre
just text
Hermé.
on the wall logo. It screams, you know who we are.
We're gonna try a croissant that is made with his signature flavor that he uses for the macaron called Ispahan, which is a mix
macaron.
of rose,
Macaron.
lychee, and raspberry.
This is one of the prettiest looking croissant that we've gotten. So simple. The coloration, dried raspberry crumbled on top. It's
Why
amazing. It's a
raspberry?
totally unique look.
Why are raspberries on everything?
So good. This is a totally different experience than any croissant we've had all day. I might as well try a little bite of this just to compare. Yeah, I'm gonna eat the whole thing. One of the best macaron I've ever had. But then we're not rating macaron today, okay? We're rating croissant. Overall, this might be one of my most favorite croissants I've had in my whole life. It's glazed with a hard shell exterior, just like a glazed donut would be. I don't think I've ever seen that
It's like
before.
a
but it
donut
makes so much
croissant.
sense. It seems so obvious. This is how you do a fruit filling. Super raspberry forward. It's sweet like it should be, but you don't lose that beautiful buttery flavor of the croissant. I've eaten like 40 billion croissants today, and I ate half this. Am I gonna regret that physically? Yes, I regret it right now. But emotionally, I'm happy I did it.
It's like a
I'm giving this
donut.
an almost unheard of immediate 9 out of 10, which leads our
Have you guys ever had a croissant donut? It's like the best thing ever. Oh my god. One of my favorite donut shops has a donut croissant with strawberry and cream filling. Ooh. Oh, I miss it. I miss it so bad. I can't have it anymore because I don't live there anymore. Oh, but what is he talking about? He's never had like a croissant with like a sugar glaze. That's like so many trendy donut shops around the world do that.
category. This might be one of the best sweet croissants I've ever had in my life. We're only 10 croissants in, sweetheart. Let's turn the heat up. Actually, maybe I pulled the wrong lever because
It's fucking raining.
the next location is commonly confused with some hotel. No, this is the one and only, the Ritz Paris Hotel. But what's the big deal? One of
fancy.
the fathers of culinary helped found this place in 1898. Who could it be? Auguste Escoffier. Quite
Auguste
literally one of the most important
Escoffier.
people in food in human history. This isn't a joke. We're not f***ing around here. But they're not done.
It's
They've invented
ratatouille.
Mother sauces, brigade systems.
Hollandaise.
Cuisine that will continue to live on forever. And they're still going, being led by 2024 World's Best Pastry Shop Award winner, Le Comptoir, whose chef Francois Perret has one of the most unusual looking croissants I've ever seen. And it is all butter.
Je dirais que c'est le plus américain des croissants français. L'intérêt de ce croissant,
What? In what way? What way is it an American croissant?
il n'est pas compliqué. L'objectif, c'est de pouvoir le manger.
It's not complicated? That... Why does that feel like a slight insult? Why does it feel like he insulted me in the most French way possible? I'm not complicated?
Facilement. C'est le croissant du
I'm easy to eat? And I'm the croissant of the future?
futur.
This is
What?
a consistent experience all the way through the croissant, and also makes it easy to dip. Good honeycomb structure, especially with how
Looks
small
like a
this
churro.
is. This technique creates more surface area for crunch while retaining that super, super soft, buttery inside.
I don't like it.
Really likes to call himself a purist. We're not far from a traditional, like ancestral croissant. It's just the shape that it's different.
It's layered
I
nicely.
don't like.
It's soft. You've got that crisp crunch on the outside. Slightly sweet, not too much. This is balanced.
The
It's
shape
salty in the
confuses
dough.
me.
The butter flavor is present. It's toasted beautifully. But what I love about it is the crunch is incredibly consistent and really, really good. So really, it's not a reinvention of the croissant. It's just a maximization of the best qualities of a proper one. This is like
It honestly reminds me of like those fried breads that are in China, and I think Mexico has them too. It just kind of it doesn't really look like a croissant. It doesn't look like it's gonna taste like a croissant either.
might be one of my favorite ones on the whole trip. I've been eating croissants all day, and this is the first one that is a plain croissant that's actually stopped me in my tracks and made me rethink, okay, finally I'm getting a new experience while maintaining the original product. I could easily eat multiple of these.
Easily a 9.1 out of 10, which makes it our new leader in both the star category and the overall competition for best all butter
It looks like a tamale.
I truly believe this is worthy in comparison to the other ones we've had. I mean, it's unbelievable.
Moving on.
We're 9 stops in, but my mind has been opened in ways I could have never imagined. Finding one winner, it's gonna take work. Sure, I might have to eat 30, maybe 40 croissants to do this right, but croissants are a lifestyle. They're a passion, and we will find the #1 croissant.
How are we gonna find a winner here when so many of these are so good? We judge things on 3 things: texture, flavor, and appearance. Each baker here has their own
But what
specialty,
about
their
price?
own talent. They are all great for different reasons. But that doesn't mean we're not gonna find the best one. Moving on.
We're going to another unexpected one. You'll almost never see this in France. It's very odd, honestly.
So our next stop is called Boulangerie-Saint, which savors natural ingredients. We are going to try one of the only sourdough croissants in our selection of croissants today.
Well, the first thing I noticed was that it smells incredibly good, obviously, but it smells totally different than any other croissant that we've had.
Let's have Chef Anthony explain it.
We don't use refined sugar, we only use honey. It's honey from Buckwheat.
This
Honey
retains the
croissant.
crunch better than the other croissant that we've had. Flavor-wise, that buckwheat honey is incredible, really special. We've had a lot of different croissants. They all kind of have a consistent flavor. If you're just looking at a plain butter croissant, this is the first butter croissant that has almost like a new flavor to it while still maintaining the original flavor that I really like. It's almost like a plum-like flavor.
Honey can taste like so many different things depending on where you are getting the honey from. If it's local, if it's from, I don't know, if it's wild. Honey to me tastes too fruity. I don't want like a fruity croissant. Again, I just want a buttery croissant.
But it's very subtle.
I love the dedication. It's truly a lost art. A very strong 8 out of 10, which leads our local legends category. I don't know that the ancestral old school way of doing things is what's gonna take the win here.
This is Laurent Duchesne's
Laurent
pastry shop and
Duchesne.
bakery. And you can see
Laurent
from the sign outside,
Laurent
it says
Duchesne.
Meilleur ouvrier de France. So remember when I told you that the French like to give awards? This is a competition really for excellence in the trade of cuisine. He's a pastry chef and a chocolatier. So the croissant that we're going to taste
Chocolate.
here is a croissant with chocolate.
Immediately, this is one of the
chocolate
butteriest
croissant.
ones I've smelled all day. Holy moly. There's actually a chocolate paste.
And you have that like cocoa inside the dough. This is interesting because you have everything. The croissant, the pain au chocolat because you have the chocolates, and a sort of like a version of almond croissant because of like the chocolate praline inside. It's like 3 in 1.
And then the normal one. You can see the honeycomb's actually quite nice. Salt levels are really nice. Butter, very present, not greasy, nice and even, a little bit of sweetness. It's a little bit chewier than what I am looking for in a croissant. I don't know that this is the best one I've had. Now the reinvention on the other hand, I don't know why the dough is so different than the original, but it retained the crunch better. The flavor of chocolate is
I love a good chocolate croissant. Pain au chocolat. I probably screwed that completely up, but I really like it. Sometimes I'll get a chocolate one. That one goes so good with tea, and sometimes I just want a plain one.
unbelievable. It's not just inside the croissant. They made sure that it wrapped all the way around. Every layer has a little thin band of chocolate dough.
For the chocolate croissant, I'm gonna give it a solid 7.5 out of 10. That takes over second place for our reinventions. Now for the all butter, this one was very tasty, but it wasn't for me. I don't know, something about it just wasn't hitting. I think it's a 6.3 out of 10. The bar is very high for our next spot, Moon. I mean, that's it. I like it. I love simplicity. They only make croissants, so we might be looking at our winner here.
What you're going to taste here is a savory croissant. So we're still in the category reinvention, but savory.
The star of the show.
Savory.
It's got ham, it has cheese, and it smells good. I took it off, but there was a toothpick with the pickles in it. Perfect bite. The quality of the ham is so nice. It's meaty, it's not too thin. And then the cheese adds a little bit of funk. It adds some salt, really clean. By far, this is probably the best ham and cheese croissant I've ever had in my life. And you have your little pickle to cut the richness.
Let's look at this all butter croissant.
They're still very crispy. They're not dry at all. Melts in your mouth wonderfully. The butter flavor is present.
I love a good croissant sandwich because I love croissants so much. Because I'm a savory person, I really like croissant sandwiches more than I like dessert croissants. So that's right up my alley too. Ooh, I want to try.
Then sweet, not because of sugar, but because of good butter. The pastry itself, really nice.
The ham and cheese comes in at a 7.9 out of 10. That takes over second place for our reinventions. They're all butter croissant, an 8 out of 10. Great, but not our leader.
So our next stop is called Du Pain et des Idées. It was opened by Christophe Vasseur more than a decade ago. He's definitely the pioneer of modern bakeries, even though it's a very
It's a lot of awards.
late
Whoa.
19th century bakery. And we're gonna taste what they call the authentic croissant.
The one we're really here for, the classic butter croissant. Can you tell us why this is the authentic?
Because of the process. In France nowadays, only 15% of craft bakeries still make croissant themselves. 85% is industrially processed. When you do it yourself, it has to be at least a 2 days process because a dough has to age for at least 24 hours. That fermentation brings extra flavor.
Earlier, we were gonna bring out the fresh croissant, and
It's
he
a
said, "Don't do the
fermented
fresh one 'cause
croissant?
It's easy for a fresh croissant to be good." And he got an old one because he's like, it's that good. And I gotta say, it's really, really good. This is the most tender, melt in your mouth croissant we've had on the trip. It's got the classic flavor that you're expecting, and you get that
Look
age
at
off
that
the dough.
flaky dough.
I appreciate authenticity and doing things the old school way. A powerful 8 out of 10 in our stars category. But like I said, I don't know that the old school methods are gonna be our winner. There's a reason that people keep reinventing and pushing the boundaries. Next, we have pépite. We're seeing unique
Pépite.
flavors being infused in
Pépite.
these, like black sesame
Ooh.
from Chef Alice Lin. This is a very rare and unusual croissant.
What we have here, it's a black sesame cream on top and a black sesame ganache. And you have a very good example of a
I like a good black sesame flavor. I know some people might be turned off the fact that it's like food should not look like that color, but ooh, a good nutty black sesame flavor in my mouth.
Asian croissant.
Even their normal croissant looks really beautiful, and it smells very buttery and yeasty, which I like a lot. The inside is honestly the highlight. The inside is so like stretchy and moist and chewy. It's a little sweeter too, but I like it. It's very nice. Okay, so this is the heaviest croissant I have ever held in my life because it's full of black sesame cream. I don't even know how to eat this. This is gonna be messy.
Yeah, it might be messy.
It looks cool, but this is very unpractical. Whoa, I love sesame. It adds a rich nuttiness that I think really plays well with the croissant. Super rich, super creamy, and not
wanna
really sweet.
try
Honestly,
it.
quite light considering there's probably, I don't know, 1,000 calories in that one croissant. I gotta say, when it comes to a croissant, I prefer simple. There's a lot going on here. I think one bite and I'm happy. I don't want any more. The croissant itself is very nice. I would not come here for this. I would come here for the black sesame croissant and I would share it with maybe 2 or 3 people. This is unique because it's got that toasted sesame, and I think that's what really makes this special and worth the trip.
The black sesame comes in at a 7.5 out of 10 for reinvention. And the classic croissant, a solid 7.5 out of 10 for the overall competition. Delicious, above average, but I'm looking for a little bit more.
That said, we're moving on.
You see this place? It looks very unsuspecting. The giant trash can out front, it just kind of blends in with everything. You may have no idea that this croissant may be our overall.
It looks so
Maison
bougie and then the
Success.
trash
This is the
can.
#1 croissant in Paris. They won that in 2024. I'm
Wow.
actually kind of surprised. You could easily walk past this and have no clue you're walking past possibly one of the greatest croissants.
Wow, it's so cheap. It's so cheap. It's probably like $2. I don't actually know in American dollars. Oh my god. See, these are the type of places I like. The unsuspecting places, those bougie places and like the really high-end places, but ooh, you give me a good hole in the wall, that's my jam.
All time, and we're about to try it.
The stakes are high. Can they overtake our current leader, Ritz Le Comptoir? They're gonna have to be better than a 9.1, which is extremely difficult on my scale usually.
Smell test, impeccable. It's like 50% butter in your face, that nice sort of almost alcoholic fermentation of bread scent. I'm gonna start with the crispy end first. Completely different texturally than pretty much any of the other croissant that we had. It's got almost like a bready chew. I love that they were able to maintain that and still have this nice flaky, airy inside. A lot of time when doughs are chewier, it means that they're lower hydration, they're more worked, it's much harder to create these beautiful layers, and they managed to maintain that. The dough is seasoned perfectly with salt. Honeycomb's nice. It does melt in your mouth after you've chewed it for a while. I do wish this was crispier, but the parts that I did eat that were crispy were very nice. I think this is up there in terms of quality with many of the other ones we've had. Is it the best best one in Paris still?
This is a hard decision, but I gotta be honest, I was really confused. It was good and far above average for sure, but the best? Listen, I got a warm croissant, it was crisp, but I'm gonna give this an 8 out of 10, which means Ritz Le Comptoir is still our overall leader, but that doesn't mean they can't be dethroned. Our next spot I'm excited about because the croissant that they presented me with was so perfectly shaped. Surely it's equally as good as it looks.
So we're in the kitchen of the newest bakery in town called La Panifacture. It's definitely a local spot. And I love this, guys. I think that everything that they do is perfectly executed with a lot of flavor.
This is exactly how I think a croissant should look. Starts thick and it tapers perfectly. Boom, boom, like a stair step all the way down, even on both sides. Even the tails are almost identical in size. The layering is very distinct. The browning, it's dark. The bottom, dark. And then of course there's that nice sort of age on the dough. You can smell the fermentation on it. The overall flavor is even butter, even
Everyone's
fermentation.
fermenting their
like this
dough.
croissant. I definitely would put
Like
this
a
on my
sourdough
go-to list.
croissant or something.
But it wasn't quite as wispy crispy. Immediately melt in your mouth. A little too chewy. The flavors were there. It was nice. A great croissant. I'd give it a 7.5 out of 10. We move on to Frappe. You see, this one I wouldn't have even thought there was a croissant here, except they have the craziest reinvention I've seen.
Hot chocolate roll.
A croissant that they've then hollowed into a cup filled with hot chocolate and topped with whipped cream. I mean, honestly, this might win reinvention.
So there are a lot of bakeries in Paris that have taken the croissants to another level.
You drink it?
One of them.
I've never seen this before. I think it's very innovative and fun. You get multiple experiences. You get the hot chocolate eating experience. Once you're done with the
novel,
hot
I
chocolate, got
guess.
a little whipped cream. But if you split it open, you've still got hot chocolate on the inside. And then you get to eat your cup. Oh, it's really good. You're getting 2 kinds
like
of
a
chocolate. You're getting
bread bowl,
semi-soft, solid chocolate on the inside.
but with
then you have
sweet
that nice
hot
light
chocolate.
hot chocolate, kind of combining with that and creating its own unique texture. The crunch from the
like a
outside.
clam
is caramelized,
chowder
a little bit
bread
sweet,
bowl.
A little bit salty. Definitely, this is a indulgence.
The viennoiserie on the croissant
I don't know
was
about
really,
this.
really good, but the chocolate's so overwhelming. You
Messy.
don't really get to love and enjoy that beautiful
Exactly.
croissant. I'd say the croissant itself an 8 out of 10.
Sweets
but
are
the
too
two combined
overwhelming.
Turned it into a 7 out of 10 for me.
One of the more unique experiences we've had thus far. We have many more to go. Moving on.
Next up is TikTok's global most famous croissant in human history, the Crookie. Invented by Chef
Crookie?
Stéphane Louvard. Look how cute he is, come on. And his artisan bakery, Maison Louvard, it's a beautiful union of chocolate chip cookie and properly made croissant. You can imagine the French seeing this and their brains probably just about floated into the air and exploded like a firework on 4th of July. Because this is almost like a disrespect to traditionality, but you guys know I like that. And thanks to TikTok, they now sell up to 3,000 of these a day. So whether you think it's a gimmick or not, we're tasting it to see where it
I
lands.
don't know how I feel about this.
Wow. So balanced. It's not overbearing. Obviously, the croissant is excellent as it is, but the cookie is kind of an important element here. It's half the flavor, and they made a dough that is buttery, but it's not overly buttery, and it's actually not very sweet. It is sweet, but not like a typical chocolate chip cookie. When an American thinks of like a cookie, they think very sweet, sort of chocolate, and that's kind of it. What really makes this shine, it's not the normal chocolate chip. You're getting chocolate notes that are fruity. There's floral notes mixed in with this cookie. It's beautiful.
That's too much.
It's understandable by all. Anyone can enjoy this. This was unbelievable. Also, chocolate chip cookies happen to be one of my favorite desserts of all time.
Wow. This blew my mind, truly. It felt brand new yet familiar while being extremely exciting to eat. It was intense with the cookie flavor, but you didn't lose the beauty.
It's like
of the
a
croissant
cookie
behind the
sandwich.
I love the fact that they didn't give up quality. They used the highest quality chocolate on earth. They took a cookie, turned it to the maximum using the best ingredients in the world, made a beautifully traditional, properly executed croissant, and combined the two. So much layering of work here. No pun on the layers, by the way. This earns a potentially insurmountable 9.1 out of 10, making it our new reinvention leader. Well earned. We're a lot of croissants in, but we might have a reinvention winner. Except there's one last one that could dethrone it. The Margarita croissant at Brigade. Yes, margarita like pizza, but croissant.
Oh, I love that.
Is
You're
it
now
an
transitioning to a
Italian
totally
croissant?
different flavor you would never expect to be with a croissant, and it works really well. Obviously, you have that buttery, rich, flaky croissant, but you also have this nice tartness from the tomato sauce that helps cut the richness.
It's
the
like a
freshness from the
pizza
mozzarella,
croissant.
which just adds more depth to the overall flavor. I actually usually don't like oregano on pizza, but it works really well here because I think you have that to add some more freshness to the overall flavor that's already so rich. This
That's
is a really
weird.
well-executed, savory reinvention. It might
don't know.
be my favorite. We'll find out.
If you had to choose between a croissant margarita and a pizza margarita?
The Italians are watching.
They really are mastering the reinvention here. I mean, this is truly
When I
like a new experience.
want a margarita pizza, I just want a margarita pizza. And when I want a croissant, I just want a croissant. I don't want A margarita croissant? That is bizarre. No,
Experience both visually and taste-wise. The final decision.
Stop
for our
it. Stop
recap.
combining these
Maison
things.
Cookie leads with a 9.1, so we're gonna need a minimum of a 9.2, which I've given very few of those in my life. But the Margarita was a big surprise with an 8.9 out of 10. Very delicious. I'll definitely be going back. That means Maison Louvard officially wins our reinvention category, putting that one to a close with a 9.1. It's hard to ignore the marriage of a perfectly baked chocolate chip cookie with some of the world's finest chocolate on a properly produced croissant. Now we need to finish our ultimate quest. We currently have Ritz Le Comptoir as our lead for best overall croissant at 9.1, and it really impressed me, truly. But we're moving on to something that could possibly dethrone it. The most anticipated bakery / pastry shop possibly in the world, Cedric Grolet. He might be the biggest name in pastry that we've ever seen. So surely his croissant will live up, right?
The honeycomb structure on the inside looks immaculate. I smell the butter, but it's not as buttery as I expected. And for some reason, like, it's not as crisp as I thought it would be for fresh baked. We had older ones that were crispier than this.
As for the shapes, I think this is really sort of like a new wave of croissant making, just like tiny and round.
The weird thing is I'm not tasting that much butter. It does taste good. Like, this is a good croissant. It is seasoned nicely.
Overhyped, it
Cedric
seems.
Grolet. I think the work he's doing is beautiful. I've always had respect for the stuff that he's done. That said, I'm a little bit underwhelmed, and maybe it's because I was so excited to get it. One of the most beautiful croissants.
I like the shape.
But the flavor
It's very
doesn't match
cute.
it. I mean, I'm sure his pastries are absolutely excellent. It's just, we're here for croissants, and I will say that if you go into that shop, 75% of the shop is filled with fresh baked croissants, not pastry, which tells me that they're selling a lot of croissants. That means that that's a big part of their business. Ultimately, my goal is to recommend you the very best croissant / croissants that you can find in Paris. Is it worth it to wait in the rain or wait in general in a very, very long line for this croissant? I feel that I would rather steer you a different direction to hopefully some of the other higher rated ones. But if you did want to sit in that line, you probably want to wait for the pastries,
Right? Now, to prove this point, let's try the pastry cream and chocolate-filled pan suisse for comparison.
way
It
better
looks
than the plain
funny.
croissant. The plain croissant doesn't stand really that well on its own two legs. When you look at it, it looks
Looks like
like a
a
10 out of 10.
piece
But
of
when
art.
you taste it, it's closer to like a 6, 6.5 maybe. But this is immaculate. So let's move on.
So wait, if Cedric Grolet can't win this, and we have a lead, then we can only give a winner one more chance. A local legend named Boulogne. And they're doing something
Boulogne.
unthinkable with a croissant. Everything a traditional all-butter croissant should have. So what's the real difference?
This is our final spot. She has brought me here to Boulogne.
Which comes from
Boulogne.
Boulangerie où l'on mange. And this is a bakery and buffet that was opened by Julien Dubuis, another very famous chef and a former Top Chef candidate. And you are going to taste the cubic croissant, like a square croissant.
Whoa, how did we make it like that?
Oh my God, it's crisp. It's so light. It's like, oh! I don't even know
It's like a
where to
little
begin.
pyramid.
Whoa. This is like the best of every world. Texturally, literally perfect. Not just because it's crunchy. This is very light. It's crisp.
It reminds me of those little
Mouth, the
Asian
crisp
milk breads.
exterior, and then the inside is
very
so
cute.
light, so fluffy. The butter perfumes your whole mouth in an amazing way because there's so much air in here. It's not so light that it totally melts. You have some time to chew.
Yeah.
So it has both the tenderness, but also the chew that I like. It has the flavor and both the airiness that I like. It's also seasoned really well, the salt level. I've eaten 10, 20, 30, 40 croissants. This one, I'm almost done. Look how much I ate. If I want to eat this much of it, this is really excellent. I mean, it's beyond good. Honestly, impeccable work. Really, truly excellent.
Thank you very much.
It's perfect.
You are talking about me or the croissant?
Our final spot. But I have a really hard decision. Is this
Cheeky.
traditional croissant, but in the shape of a cube, really gonna be worthy of even a podium spot? I mean, they're going out on a limb here. All the passion, the creativity, and a lot of butter I've experienced today, it all comes down to this.
We've visited over 20 places, saying many of them were great, slight differentiations. This not only being the last stop, but it is the stop that made me stop in my tracks. It doesn't really matter to me the shape, honestly. I think that this is the best croissant I've had, period.
Wow.
Minor reinvention, but it ultimately was just a
Amazing.
different shape,
Amazing.
which ended up leveraging all of the greatest qualities of a croissant, putting our final spot as the ultimate winner with a 9.3 out of 10, an almost unheard of ranking, something I very rarely give. This means Boulogne also takes the local legends crown. The Crookie at Maison Louvard wins the reinvention category over Boulangerie Michelin.
Wow, these all look very tasty. I want to try them all. Ooh, I want to go to Paris. I want to go to Paris and try out all of these.
Ritz Le Comptoir with Francois Perret with his tubular all butter croissant. I want to be really clear here. I've been eating croissants all day. I don't want to eat them anymore. And this being the last one, I was still excited to eat after probably what was 3 to 4 pounds of butter and dough in my body. To me, that deserves the win.
All the places were wonderful, and you should visit as many as you can. I would not recommend doing what I did. I don't feel good, but I would come back here no matter how I felt, because this was at my #1 spot in comparison to everywhere else we went. So come visit Paris. This should probably be your first stop, and check out the other places along the way. And I also want to give a big shout out to Adriana and Eating Europe. They were the ones that made this whole tour possible. They helped assemble all these places for us. They do trips all over Europe, and so if you want to join them, be sure to check them out. We'll have a link in the description if you want to go. If you're visiting Paris, they're doing a breakfast tour. Bye, love you, subscribe. Why did it take this long to find the best one? Why couldn't we have found it sooner? What's the story behind this? Whose heart got broken in Paris? Well, anyway.
Chat, make me go viral so I can go to Paris and eat all the croissants. Please!